Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, his speeches, knotty problems. It's a great source of satisfaction to me that a real pleasure and the Thakur Sahib was good enough to write to me only this morning that he had issued instructions to his Diwan to implement the agreement which had been reached between me and the late ruler of on December 26, 1938. In these circumstances, the speed and drama of which had baffled even the then resident Mr. Gibson. By this action, Thakur Sahib has demonstrated a high sense of public duty and has kept the pledge given by his brother. While I fully appreciate the significance of the historic event, historic not only because people of Rajkot, but also in a much wider sense, I must tell you the real purpose of my visit to Kathiawad is the disentanglement of the many knotty problems which the sudden collapse of authority in Junagadh has created, not only for the people of Junagadh, but the whole of Kathiawad. You know how the Nawab of Junagadh had left the state without a shot being fired. The trouble had been brought upon the Nawab's head by the wrong advice which he had received from the people who were bent upon mischief and by mechanizations of the Pakistan government itself. They had no business to meddle with Junagadh. When we accepted partition, we did so in the hope of a final settlement of a brotherly dispute. We felt that by satisfying the obstinate demand of the brother who had been a part of a joint family, we would bring peace to both of us and prosperity to all. But hardly had the partition been effected that Punjab disturbances engulfed us. Nevertheless, we took particular care to avoid creating any obstacles in the way of our relationship with the states with whom such relationship was quite natural. We did not attempt to seduce any of their states into our fold, but it was they who throughout made it business to create difficulties and obstacles for us as much as and as often as possible. Rampur, which was the first to declare its accession to Indian dominion, witnessed the first fruits of Pakistan's malevolence. We met this challenge resolutely and the resistance collapsed. Then they thought and sought a foothold in Junagadh. We warned them, we begged them, we reasoned, but obstinacy was not conquered. We could not be blind to the consequences which had interference with our affairs entailed and with the affairs of the states which had acceded to us long before they took the final plunge into Junagadh. It was with this idea that of safeguarding the rights of acceding states and the peace of Kathiawad that we had to taken precautionary measures and sent troops to Mandavdar, Mangrol and Babriabad. Even then, we had no intention of marching our troops into Junagadh territory. But then the provisional government led by Mr. Smal Das Gandhi took a hand. They took village after village and reached Kuntiana. It was then that the advisor of the Nawab, who had already fled, realized that the game was up. They left, leaving the people who had financed them in utter predicament. The Diwan's decision to hand over the administration to Indian dominion was reached after Major Harvey Jones had been denied assistance by Pakistan government, and after the council and the people had taken into consultation. It was no hasty decision but a calculated move to accept the inevitable. The Diwan informed that government of what he was doing. We waited for 24 hours to see how Pakistan would react. But there was no reaction, no response whatsoever. We then decided to march in order not only to preserve the peace in Junagadh, but also to forestall its adverse repercussions in the whole of Kathiawar. I emphatically repudiate the contention that Diwan had no authority to take the action that he did. He had the assent of the Nawab of Junagadh and the backing of the people. What other authority under any conception of sovereignty did the Diwan need in support of his action? It was, however, Pakistan's practice to use all sorts of devices in order to call in question anything that the Indian dominion did. They would cry or use threats. Sometimes they would blow hot and sometimes cold. The Diwan, in a more congenial atmosphere in Karachi, suddenly realized that he had not handed over the administration completely to the Indian dominion. But his letter is crystal clear, and he cannot expect us to hand over the state on a plate after all the misdeeds of himself and his other officers and their desertions of people. We have said that more than once. We have said that many times and once again, that the final arbiters of this issue are the people, and it is by their verdict that we shall be guided. I can assure everybody that the verdict would be real verdict ascertained in a truly democratic fashion. We cannot imitate the methods which Pakistan utilized in enforcing a decision in Kashmir. On the general question of responsible government in the states, I must say, as one who has done more than anyone else to preserve the true rights of the princes, I feel the princes can survive only as trustees of people. Let them not heed any false, fraudulent advice which interested persons engaged in the pursuit of selfish ends. Let it not offer them any solace. Instead, let them carry the people with them. Princes and people belong to one family, and their best and mutual interest lies in remaining as a family rather than behaving as foes. But at the same time, it is the duty of our people to prove themselves worthy of great responsibility which a democratic regime entails. Remember how Cochin had seen recently the farthest advanced yet made on the road of responsible government, but how, despite the full cooperation of the ruler, the responsible government in the state came to grief. I have a special word of advice to say to Hindus and Muslims in Kathiawar. I recall how in the past Muslims of Kathiawar contributed to the League's two-nation theory, its propaganda, and how they took part in League's politics. But I have forgotten the past. which is dead and gone, if only they will treat it as such. But if they still feel an attachment to the two nation theory and look an outside power, they have no place in Kathiawad. It was to put an end to this dual loyalty, and we agreed to create Pakistan so that those who prefer to abide in that faith can find a place where they can pursue it. In India, there is no place for such persons. If they stay in India, it can be only as loyal citizens, otherwise, they have been treated as foreigners with all the attendants and disabilities. They would live in India like brothers and in harmony with non-Muslims. I call upon Hindus to follow Mahatma Gandhi in his creed of non-violence. Recent disturbances have disgraced India in the eyes of the world, and it is for us to win back our lost reputation by correct behavior and noble conduct. At the same time, I deplore the tendency to get panicky. If we have to die, we must die as brave men. As human beings with a sense of human dignity, we cannot die crying. I want Hindus and Muslims to forget the past and to live happily together. To make it possible, let Muslims in India search their conscience and ascertain that they are really loyal to the country. If they are not, let them go to the country which claims their allegiance. Finally, I feel I should make it clear to you all, that there is no question of India being unable to face the threats which have been held out. Pakistan's problems, and probably prompted by the feeling that India is in a trouble, and therefore fermentation of trouble in states would make the matter worse. No, I assure you, it won't. I assure you that we are not going to let the grass grow under our feet. Even if these troubles come, at the same time, we have got resources which would enable us to stand up to all of them at the same time. If we are anxious to challenge now, if we are anxious that they challenge or anyone else challenge, we would be ready to accept it. Let no state have an evil designs on us or dream of extending its hegemony. Let them not entertain the fond hope of any Jatistan or Rajasthan or Sikhistan. If they persist, all these dreamers would soon be disillusioned. Instead, let them realize which way they want to go, which way their true interest is. I wish them Godspeed. Let them only have us to pursue our own salvation and stop meddling with our affairs, even in the places like far off Tripura. We shall then each settle down to our respective destiny. Maybe after we have become prosperous, they themselves will awaken to the need for reunion in the best interest of both. It is neither our business nor our intention to force a reunion. We only wish to be left alone so that both can live in peace and prosperity, happiness and harmony.